Hello,
And
welcome to another episode of
the Gabfest. Guys, it's our jingle.
Yeah, it's our jingle. We must record it so that Lee, whenever it goes, 3, 2, 1, and then it's this harmony.
Hello.
And
Opening
we can
sequence.
practice. We can
Opening
practice
bumper.
in time. Like Lee will give us voices, and then we will do a whole
Hi, Shames, a
harmony.
whole Whitney Spears out here, guys.
Yes.
No, the other day on the radio, guys, literally there was somebody singing. And I'm sitting and I'm like, babe, if this lady can sing,
Then we all can
then I can sing also. Then he's like, you know what, I wasn't listening. I only paid attention now. And this person can't sing.
It's about the confidence.
Exactly. We just need to be confident in
Yeah.
ourselves.
To do
Making
Yeah.
a
This
joyful
life.
noise.
Yes.
And now we don't even need a CD release. We just need that one YouTube video to go viral. And we're famous.
But there must be an element of corniness, so you catch yourself. So usually when something goes viral, it's either because it's really bad or because it's really good. So we must decide. We can't go
must
in
decide.
between mediocre.
Like that guy that
Decide.
sings. What is his handle? The guy that sings those
Fishbone.
songs. Not fish. I remember. He's like, he looks like he's from like the Philippines or something.
I don't know. But I know all the TikToks Isaiah watches. It's not singing. It's like just
The random
random sounds.
words that don't make sense.
Not even words,
Yeah.
it sounds.
Oh.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Gabfest. Today, it is Friday, and it's the first Friday of the month, which equals First Friday.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
And I actually just realized I didn't make, First Fridays we have the slides.
Yes.
Totally slipped my mind.
Oh.
But when we were walking up earlier, I was like, she's like, yeah, when's Jess coming? So Jess is going to come, we have to have an extra cup. And I'm like, is it the first Friday? Like, really? Because the weeks just roll into one, and
Yeah.
Friday is Friday for
And
us.
you
like,
were literally here last week before, nah?
Yeah.
It's like you don't realize the timing in between. It's like overnight.
I literally can't believe we're halfway
Through
through
the
the year.
scary.
It feels like we were saying 2022,
Right?
2020. Like just now. It doesn't feel like we're already like in June.
We must legit go back to that first episode and then remember we all made notes of what we're going to accomplish this year.
We have to do
And
Oh,
let's see.
follow-up.
A follow-up and
Hold
let's
yourself
see.
accountable.
But first give us another 6 months. Ne?
Oi. How was your week, Jess?
My week was really busy, but I'm so excited. Like First Fridays make me feel like, okay, we're starting the month off on a high. You know, we come here, we're girly. It's lots of fun.
We're
So
girly.
I think it's been a very busy week on my side, but all good in the hood.
Yeah, man.
So it's your turn to ask Evangelique.
Yes,
So
Vange,
next
how
6
was
months.
your week?
My week was good, guys.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm still coughing.
Yeah.
No idea why I'm coughing. Nothing is working. I've tried everything under the book. I have my medicines here. I asked Lee, can you see it in the shot?
Yeah.
She said yes. So every now and then, if you just see me take a shot, it's my cough shot. How was your week, guys?
Take it
My
away.
week was good, and then yesterday, like midnight, I decided I want some bangs. So I went and got the hair scissors, and I cut a big chunk. So I'm glad I'm sitting on this side today because then you can't see.
The bangs.
Yeah, where it's like choppy. You know when you watch too much TikTok and
No, really, eh?
these girls look like
TikTok
it's-
made me do it.
Bangs. Whoops.
I'm sure we all have a bad bang story though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have a few of those. But we won't go into that right now. We're literally
The
still...
bachelor.
Yeah. Actually, I've progressed over the years. I have progressed. Practice makes good, so maybe you should...
Yeah.
Maybe I
Every
shouldn't...
now and then.
Maybe I shouldn't encourage you.
Yeah,
but-
no. I got to a point where I'm like, I have to stop or else I'm gonna have those bowl haircuts.
So when I turned 21, right, my brother Jesse and his bestie Zayn bought me a doll's head for my birthday. And I
Yeah.
was like, what must I
Not
do
creepy
with
at all.
this? Yeah, it was literally just a huge Barbie, but the head only.
Oh, I've seen those.
And then I was like, oh, wow, And then they're like, now you can, because I always have wild hairstyles. They're like, now you can practice your hairstyle before you do it on yourself. I'm
Wow.
like, okay.
They were thinking of you.
They were thinking, yeah, shame. Anx, your week?
Yeah, it was great. I think for the most part, guys, I've really been struggling with acid reflux, so that makes me cough, and it's the weirdest thing ever. So in the times we're living, people are like, stay away
Yeah.
from me, stay away from me.
You'll
And
get a
it's
side eye now,
Yeah, you get a
then.
side eye, and it's like, guys, like, I'm too young for this stuff. Like, am I really of age to be going through these things? And that was a hard realization for me this week. But yeah, but other than that, it's great.
Good. I'm getting old.
No. Let's rephrase that. It's maturing.
Like fine wine.
Thank you. It
Fine
makes it
wine.
sound softer, yeah?
Oh, you're becoming more expensive.
There
Yeah.
we go. There
I
we
like
go.
that
I
one.
like it.
So today, obviously, First Fridays is our trending topics. And our first topic for today, guys, I was like, how is this trending? But I found it so interesting, right?
Yeah.
So in India, there is a man who divorced his wife, okay? Just throwing your thoughts, anything. So there's a man that divorced his wife, right? And do you want to know why he divorced his wife?
We want to know.
Tell us.
Because since they got married, the only thing she's made so far is Maggie's 2-minute noodles for breakfast, for lunch, and for supper.
How long are they married?
They don't say how long they are married, but that's all she's ever made.
I didn't know they have noodles in India, though. I know that sounds very, like, excuse my ignorance. But I mean, India is known for its curries, its rice, those type of things. Noodles.
Or at least like
and also-
proper noodles, not that
Yeah, but
That Indo, what?
instant. Yeah.
see, that's again a completely different country. That's like in Indonesia. That's like an Asian country. Like noodles are like known for Asian countries, but even rice, but more noodles for Asian countries. So I'm trying to think because Indians prize themselves on the way they can cook, the way their women can cook, and the curries and the biryanis and all of that. So yeah,
They
2-minute
have
noodles.
curry flavor noodles.
It is, and it's Maggie's. Maggie's 2-minute
But
noodles,
remember, guys,
curry.
that's South African. It says Durban curry.
Oh, yeah, it
It's
does,
South
yeah.
African. So my question
Where
is,
does Durban get their curry from?
it's South African. Anyway, so you kind of like, because Indians pride themselves on their women cooking, like making home cooked meals. So it is a shocker for me, like noodles.
And he also went as far to say that every time he does give her finances to go buy groceries, she only comes back with bulk Maggie 2-minute noodles.
Wow.
I don't think this man loves her. And I know by me saying that, I know someone's going to come for me, but I think people marry for different reasons. And I think he married so that he can have someone cook for him. And clearly his expectation is not being met. If he married this person because, look, I mean, all our societies are different. But I feel like if you married because you're best friends, if you married because you love each other, maybe you could have had the conversation with him. Maybe you can chip in and cook. Maybe ask her, why doesn't she like cooking? And also, why is she the only one cooking? Why? I mean, that's
For
just
breakfast,
my...
lunch, and supper.
Okay, but I just want to say this, and I know I'll be crucified for this, that high shame, guys, marriage needs a lot more than just love to make it work, right? That's the first comment on that. Then the other comment is this, that the culture that they are in, it's still very chauvinistic. So it's really, the kitchen is for the wife, and she needs to cook. So that's their culture that they live in. So for us it's different. I'll ask, there's bread. You're a grown man. There's my 2 kids that I need to, So it's different for our cultures. But Aisha, me too. Like 2-minute noodles.
In the morning,
But
you
they
can
don't
make
even
it with
fill
egg.
you.
Eat 2 packets then.
No, like it's not nutritional.
You sound like an expert in this.
I mean, no one's saying it's right, but there
Yeah.
must be an underlying
Compromise.
reason why she keeps doing it. So
Pertaining to our cultures, I do agree. I mean, I'm not for the kitchen, guys. I'm for the couch and the Netflix. Just kidding. So I don't like cooking. My husband knows I don't like cooking. So I always find some cheat code or something. I did learn, however, whatever, guys. Hi, Shame. He does eat every Sunday at Ma's house. So I did find a way to get him some cooked food in his belly. So not everyone is that type of. I'm not a homey kitchen type of person.
Yeah.
So I
Same.
feel that there must be compromise. So Aisha, my husband will eat. If I make him bread and eggs tonight, he'll eat it. It's either that or Aisha make believe curry. It's his choice.
Yeah. I'm with Jess on that in terms of why are you then just leaving her to make 2-minute noodles? I understand if you're saying it's your responsibility, but they're also not disclosing, is she a full-time worker?
Yeah.
What is she doing that she just has time to make a quick 2-minute noodles vibe?
Also, how much are you giving the woman? Are you giving her enough, like, to buy groceries
Yeah,
to
but-
make something? I'm just saying.
If you're buying so much 2-minute noodles, you can buy veggies and rice.
Then also remember in that culture that they basically forced to marry. Like, they just meet their wife.
Maybe she doesn't like him.
Yeah, maybe it's a way of
saying, it's
this
time out.
arranged marriage is not for me.
You have a
Yeah.
theory
You know?
there.
Because when I was reading up on it, they were saying that in India, when at the divorce court, there's like people that haven't even been married for
More
a
than
day.
a year, yeah.
Even for a day. And it's like weird things like you didn't place the salt on the right side or she didn't do this. So I feel like that's their cry out, guys, I don't want to be married to this guy. Why are you forcing me to marry this guy? So it could also
Yeah.
be their
I
scapegoat.
read once about a man that divorced his wife after, I think, 20 years because she asked him every single day how much sugar he wants in his coffee.
I would too, guys. like, have you heard nothing in the past 20 years? Like is there
Is
something
that a
wrong?
valid reason?
But then go make your own
not.
coffee. Don't ask her to
Yes.
make coffee.
I feel like these are marriages that there's no love. It's a marriage of an arrangement or convenience because
Or maybe
if
comfort.
if you love
There's
someone,
no comfort if I'm feeling irritated.
I mean, I'm not saying I was making 2-minute noodles when Thokozani and I got married, but my cooking wasn't perfect. But I don't know, we made it work. I'm a much better cook now. Thank the Lord in heaven. Much better cook now. But I think there must be a patience for each other. And I also would like to, I have so many questions. How long were they married? Do they have children? How did they meet? Because surely he must have known this about this person before.
Yeah, unless
mean,
arranged.
Provided
There must have
it's
been-
not arranged, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
yeah.
but if it's arranged, you would actually know more because. Did you ever watch that? Was it on Netflix when they had that Indian lady that did the matching for people to meet? So it was like a dating show, but it was based in India, and this lady used to like read your auras and stuff
Oh, that
like
sounds
that.
cool.
Watch that.
And
yeah.
then she would set up, and then this family would have all the list of things you can do and all the list of things you can't do. And then she would compare this. It was like a CV. You compare the CVs to see which couple. But if this
We should be
couple
doing
would-
that anyway. I feel.
But remember in these marriages, some who are arranged marriages, what usually happens is the parents do it for their alliances because maybe the person's
yeah.
rich or something. So that resume they're typing up, their daughter's the most wonderful. You don't want to be telling the people, I didn't teach my child to cook. You don't want to be telling the people
Yeah.
that. So it's all those funny dynamics that play
But
into
what's
it.
interesting about this specific show is this lady actually comes into your house and does like interviews and checks your cupboards and stuff like that.
I think that's fair.
So it was so intriguing. I watched it, like I binged watched it. Like I was so interested to see who ends up with who.
I say this now that it's fair, like now, after 8 years of marriage, but high shame. Had they done that to me when I met my husband, no marriage here. This woman can't cook.
He
to
was
save
saved
her
by
life.
the mystery.
By the mystery.
You know, guys, I must admit, this week, when was it when I made chicken? You know the pieces?
Yeah.
And Thokozani said to me, I think you've mastered your chicken. And I literally
That made you
wanted
like-
to jump off
It's
of
like an ego booster.
That was when I got the pup right.
like,
When I got the
I
pup
showed
right,
the
I
pup
was
is
like,
really an issue for Evangelique. Like, no, you've got it now.
I've got
You've
it. I got my pup.
and I find it interesting for me, that whole dynamic of the responsibility of the cooking, and like you were talking about the societal roles and the what's the word that you use, the chauvinism, misogyny, all of that, patriarchy, all of those things. And I find that as we're moving through like a different season and a different age, things are changing so much. I mean, my cousins moved here from Cape Town. So we were having lunch last week, Saturday, and they were talking about how they cook. And she was telling me, oh, but he cooks so much, and he cooks on these days, and I cook on these days. And I listened to that conversation. I envied her so much because I was like, you know what? That's cool that they could, like work that out. I know with Thokozani, he's more of a bride type of person.
Yeah.
So I'll do cooking, but we both do takeaways. But it's like that switch up, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
So this is what you do when you come home. You're like, I lust for braai. Every third night, or second night, you have braai.
I sent
So
a
that's-
message
The cheat
already.
codes are coming up.
Problem is then you still have to make the pap.
And the salad.
I'm okay with the
Salad.
pap. No salads. Weekdays, no salads. Guys, you must ration yourself to be ready for when you do cook. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Which for me is hardly ever. But
a
what I'm
battle.
saying, pick a battle.
So what I found long ago, and I found it relevant for this topic of divorcing for a reason like this. And it was the interview with Mike Todd, right? And he was speaking about society today and how, as young people, when you go dating, we told it's okay to find what you like. So you date, if you don't like it, you leave it.
Yeah.
Find the next one. You date, you don't like it, you leave it. And he says subconsciously, we don't realize we're creating like some sort of personality that even if you now get married and you're like, oh, I'm so in love, and the person does one thing you don't like, you call divorce.
Yeah.
And it's because it became so normal in the dating, because that's what we do. We say we date from 15 and by 16 you have a new boyfriend, by 17 there's a new boyfriend, by 18, and then as time goes, that actually stays with you in marriage, that once you're married and the person just does one thing wrong, you jump to, I deserve better, I can find better. What's your thoughts on that?
That's
Do you think it does play a role?
I feel like especially now in these, how do I say without making myself sound old, but like
In these
in this
times.
new age, yeah, like I feel like people are a lot less willing to put up with things that don't work for them in the name of self-love and all those
I beg to say.
words they throw at us.
I think it's more an element of selfishness that has been replaced with self-love, because everything in life has balance, and like now you've got self-love. Where do you draw the line with selfishness and self-love? And I've said this before, that the older generation used to say that we don't throw out broken things, we fix it. Whereas our generation, we literally throw something and we go buy something
Cancelled.
new. Yeah, you cancel, you this, you that. And if I don't have to put up with it, why? I mean, that's the culture we're living in. And then there is the element of love. How much of that is there? To say, okay, fine, I'm going to stick this out, because let's be honest, when we're young and we're dating, is it love? Or is it just, what did we call it the last time? The puppy love, that teenage
infatuation.
infatuation.
It's the first time you're
Yeah.
feeling something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
so it's new.
And I think you do create patterns. You do create patterns where you're like, I got over him, so I'm sure I can get over the next one too. I mean, if it doesn't suit me.
And also, I read the other day that it's actually normal or healthy if your partner triggers you in some way. Not often, there must be a balance and some kind of boundary, because they force you, not force, the word force sounds so harsh, but
Encourage.
they encourage you to grow in that area or heal that part of you that is being triggered by whatever they're doing.
Jeez.
So they say it's not supposed to be smooth sailing. Tell us, guys. Tell us about this marriage thing.
No, you are dropping bombs.
I think
'cause,
we should have an actual whole episode
Yeah.
on marriage and divorce and dating from there. Okay.
Yeah.
from there.
And so we're still speaking about divorce. I don't want us to go too much in detail about the case and everything. I just want your 2 senses on what you think about the outcome between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard with him winning the case.
I am ecstatic. I'm really ecstatic. I, however, just feel like she shouldn't have gotten anything. And the reason why I feel like she shouldn't even gotten that 2 million, not that it matters, because really she owes him a mountain in comparison to that. The reason why I feel she shouldn't have gotten it was because she's made it so much more difficult for women that are being abused. Because now they'll just say, don't be an Amber. You know, do you get what I'm saying?
But guys, isn't there like a tiny, I'm all for Johnny Depp, just to put it out there, but
I am
is there
Johnny
not
Depp.
like a small part of you that questions like maybe she's not lying?
No, I don't.
No hesitation.
Let me tell you why. No one is perfect. I'm sure he did stuff in that setting that wasn't. I mean, I'm in a marriage where my marriage is not perfect. There's no marriage that's perfect. There's stuff that bother me about Xavier, and there's a hell of a lot of stuff about me that bothers Xavier. Do you get what I'm saying? So no one is putting him on that scale. However, he didn't come out and blast her and put it on the, what was that? Not the New York Times. What was it called? The Washington, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that, which is why the trial ensued.
Okay.
She didn't come out and blow it up in her face and said she's abusive. And she was abusive. She was abusing him. But he didn't come out. He was forced to in order to save his name. And guess what? Now he's the darling of the world. I'm just saying.
Did you see a statement?
Yeah, I was appalled by the
she's
statement.
going to appeal it, right?
Yeah.
So, Jess, what's your thoughts?
You know, it's as much as, court can't tell you what happened in the rooms where they were, where those things happened. Court is only going to portray who looks authentic, who doesn't, whose facts were straight, who wasn't. So I think I'm bordering more towards what you were saying, in the sense that I'm not. It makes it, this case for me trivializes the actual hardcore realities of GBV. It trivializes it a lot, in the sense where this was more about who is believable.
Yeah.
And is every woman as
And they're both
believable? They're both actors. So I feel
One
like
being
for
a
me,
really bad actor,
I've
I'm just-
detached myself a bit from this case. It's not because I believe one more than the other. It's just that the biggest question in my mind is, if someone were in the room every time, any of us had arguments with our partners or had disagreements or anything like that, there's always two sides to a story.
Yep.
And this case, I have to admit, I detached myself a bit, because I just wasn't sure where I stood here. But I will say this, that her tactics in the court didn't seem very believable compared to Johnny Depp, who seemed very authentic. And that to me has just made me question the semantics of things, how things look, and the fact that none of us were there.
Yeah.
So I'm also on that side of, to a certain extent, I am very happy for Johnny, because I do believe that this case has highlighted that men do get abused as well. So that's my side, where I am like, even though it is a rich man, so obviously he's going to, he's popular and he's rich and he had the whole world's support. So obviously there's going to be that side of, he's going to win, no doubt. Whether it been a normal girl where there was really abuse, I do believe that he would have also still won because of his status. But I am happy that it highlighted the fact that there is such a thing as man abuse.
That's
as
what I
well.
also wanted to say. Like, I feel like it could be a win for men, but if they weren't famous, was it going to be as effective? Like, nobody would have cared.
But that's why I feel like it's a good thing, because sometimes, like we say, when something happens to famous people, it highlights that there is actually this kind of problem.
Yeah.
But then where I do feel that, listening to the things, there was a lot of things where Johnny was wrong as well. But then I feel like Amber is to blame, not Johnny, for people being against her. Because like you said, the way she acted in court didn't do any justice for gender-based violence towards women. She just made it seem like you can't really trust the woman if she says she's being abused, all those things. Like you saying with you could feel Johnny is authentic. Yeah. I feel had she just been honest, throw away all the but be herself.
On a serious note,
It
though,
would have had much more of an impact for women, whether she lost or won. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
So
I
I found this, obviously, Sadie, that's been on our show, she's one to go off about women and whatnot. And I found it very interesting because this is an aspect that many people don't look at. And it says, please don't annoy me and post about how happy you are about Johnny Depp's victory today. This defamation case is a victory for powerful men who have been accused of domestic violence, not for male victims of domestic violence. Johnny Depp, with all his evidence against Amber Heard, chose to fight for his reputation and not for justice of domestic violent victim. He chose to advocate for himself and his career, not for other men. If your position is advocacy for male victims, then do not forget the male voices in the Me Too movement. Male victims with powerful abusers are just as much in peril as women. They're much worse off than they were before this trial. People always say men aren't taken seriously when they're abused. How much more so when power to speak about abuse without even naming the abuser has been taken away. We're not back at square one. We've just completely thrown off the board, and absolutely everyone is going to suffer for it. So I thought that was a very interesting take as well, that we all saying it's nice to see something's happening, there is such a thing as man abuse. But when I read her comment, it made me think, but that's actually true. He wasn't fighting against
Because even in his
men
statement, he also
being-
said, my reputation.
But what you guys must essentially remember is it wasn't a criminal case, which is why he didn't need to be there for the verdict. It wasn't. So it's not really a guilty verdict. So you can't say guilty as charged or whatever. It wasn't a criminal case. It was a civil case, which meant that there's just basically charged like amounts being implicated here. So 10 million for you and 2 million for you based on this, based on that. That's it. It was just based on his reputation. It's a defamation trial,
we get that.
you know,
but
so-
she's saying that because this is domestic violence against the man, wouldn't it have been nice that, there was more attention based on that and not just reputation, which I agree, this case was about him getting his life back and his career back. But just your thoughts on that.
Would you like to go?
Guys, you have no idea how detached I am, because I keep everyone has something to say about but again I say it's court. And if I think about, for example, the OJ case, right, and this is a criminal case, this is not a civil case, right, there were no matter how, if you're really famous, there's tons of bias in your direction. I've heard people who didn't even watch the case, but were just happy that Johnny Depp won. And for me, like,
It's
as
the
somebody who,
TikToks.
so I understand some of the semantics and the things that happened in the courtroom and all of that. And, the trial by the jury and all of it. For me, it's I don't want to say it's this big, elaborate theater performance for the public, but people have chosen sides, some have chosen sides based on evidence, but a lot of people just veered towards, I like Johnny Depp, I don't like Amber, and therefore, Johnny Depp is my guy. Didn't take the time to sit and watch the whole thing and have so much opinion and project their experiences, which might be fair or not, onto this case. So I find it interesting as a society what everyone takes from it, but I detached myself because, again, I say I just don't know what happened in that house.
Yeah.
It's tricky for me, and I struggle to speak about it, and I don't know if I've made my point.
No, but there's nothing wrong with that, though.
Yeah, it's your opinion.
I feel very detached because, again, okay, different type of case with OJ. People were outside with placards, glory for OJ. People had just determined in their mind that OJ was innocent. I don't know if I did sense Johnny Depp's sincerity, but it comes back to that thing again. If he didn't have that level of status, and would it have been so easy to have, for myself, decided that, okay, he's the authentic one. So I myself am not even sure about my own analysis of it, and that's why I take a step back, because it's highly sensitive, for me.
Based on that, I think there's so much truth in what you said in terms of people putting their own biases on their own experiences. Because personally, for me, it was a sore topic because I know of people who are being abused, and every time when you see the specific people, then you're like, you remind me of Amber. You look like an Amber. You sound like an Amber. You know, so it becomes that because you get upset for this person because they're doing things and no one's doing anything about it, not even the person who's in the abusive situation. So you kind of like, the world is creating awareness about the Ambers out there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, going back to what you were asking about the whole side of, you know, it being highlighted of the abuse and about the GBV and all of that, I wonder what would have happened had he gone criminal trial, had he gone and accused her of domestic violence. Like, because then you would have had a criminal case and that highlighted that, and it wouldn't even have been about his career per se. Because he was losing all the gigs, or he just wanted to get his life back on track. But what was so interesting for me is, like, I went to look, because I'm a huge Johnny Depp fan. I mean, from when he did 21 Jump Street, that was way before I was born. And then there was Chocolate, you know, those were my favorites.
Yeah.
But now I come and I look and I went to go research his age. I'm like, yo,
He's grown, eh?
oh, he's old.
The man is grown.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how people think George Clooney is hot when there's Johnny Depp.
I mean, I've always thought that, but like that he's just this. Yeah, what you said. Anyway, you know. But and then I'm gonna go research her age. I'm like, this man is old enough to be this woman's father. How is this manipulation? So, are you that enthralled by the opposite sex, or are you what? It was just interesting for me that this man could end up in a case like that with someone who's old enough to be his child. I don't get it.
But yeah. So, if you have any 10 cents, tell us what you think. But yeah. So, moving on to the next thing, right? Cleo, do you want to jump into it, because it is the topic you sent me
About the gun laws.
About the gun laws. So we want to speak about, recently in America there was just another shooting, fourth graders dying, and it was at school. If you don't know about what happened, Cleo, do you just want to elaborate?
I didn't. To be honest, I don't know like the in-depth details. I just know about the shooting, and there was 2 teachers that died. For me, I was just concerned because I feel like it's such a common thing in the States, and I just don't understand it. Like, why would you target kids? For me, that is just heartbreaking.
It's absolutely
I mean, for anyone to
senseless,
die, but kids, like, imagine sending your kids to school and something happens to them at school.
So I found it very interesting. They interviewed one girl that was in the classroom, right? And her and her friend was, obviously they were survivors, but she said her teachers went out first to protect the kids. So the teachers told the kids to hide, and then they tried to stop the gun boy. I'm not sure what to call him. He's not a man.
The gunman,
Roberta's gunman.
But he is quite young though, hey?
He's extremely young.
I think he was 19, 20,
so
around about that age. He's young.
And now he's targeting 4th graders, right? So he walks in the class, and this little girl that was interviewed says they hid, and she just kept her friend, and her friend kept speaking, and she's telling the friend, keep quiet so they don't hear us. And the friend kept quiet, and he shot everybody. She says when he walked in, he literally said, today you're going to die. Oh my gosh. And then started shooting at them. And she says that there was some other kids in the class that made it, and he left. And then some child made a noise, and that made him come back in. And then he shot the kid that was making a noise, because that child survived.
Yeah.
So, Cleo, why is this topic? Why?
So the reason why I wanted to speak about this, because I know their laws are obviously, or maybe a bit different from ours, but I know that there's a lot of women that's looking into getting firearms because safety, and we always a target somewhere, somehow. And I was just interested to chat more about like the gun laws and find out, are you guys pro-gun, anti-gun? What is your...
I had a heated discussion with someone earlier because they own a gun, so I just wanted to find out what are the gun laws here in South Africa. So I had a heated discussion with him. Not heated, but, they're obviously pro-gun. And, in my stance, and like I said earlier to Cleo, is that there's no solid line in life. Like, black and white. There really isn't. You can't umbrella something and say, okay, fine, you have to cut off all guns or abolish all guns. Because the reality of the matter is then you have to take the police's guns away, you have to take everyone's guns away, and then you have illegal guns on the streets. Now, we're just sheep here waiting to be eaten by the wolf. So there's no solid line. However, I do looking into South African laws, there's a lot of illegal guns that are floating around, right? And gun laws are very stringent here in South Africa. So a lot more people are getting guns for self-protection, because really people walk into your house, they rob your house at gunpoint now. So there's really that element.
And you can't shoot them first.
You can't. Oh no, that's murder. If they're on your premises without your permission and you shoot them, it's just cold-blooded murder. So you're in the wrong way, and they're about to take your possessions. Welcome to South Africa. Anyway, moving along. In the US, you can literally just walk in to a shop in some states, not all states though. In some states, you can literally walk into a shop and then just buy something.
A cold drink.
Yeah, like you're buying a cold drink.
Pick and pay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Walmart.
You can buy for your 13-year-old child or your 12-year-old child, which I think is ridiculous. That's like giving my 4-year-old or even my 13-year-old child the car keys to drive. It's not how is that common sense for a parent, right? It really doesn't make sense. Quickly veering off from that topic where I was going with that. Quickly veering off, I read something that said that it's strange to see that mental illness, because this is the narrative that is being pushed in the US, why mass shootings is occurring, it's mental illness. Now, bearing in mind, it's more than 200 shootings, I'm paraphrasing that, more than 200, right? Since January till now, it's been 6 months, mass shootings in the US alone.
So
right?
I want to know, based on that, the whole world has access to guns and illegal guns, because there's illegal guns everywhere. I want to know, what is it in America that all these mass shootings with kids is such a big thing and nowhere else in the world?
So to finish that thought quickly, the thought was just, it's strange to see that nowhere else in the world, not in South Africa, not in Europe, nowhere else, not in Canada, is people doing mass shootings based on mental illness. And we have mental illness literally everywhere.
What about that boy in Krugersdorp? But I think he axed them. What did he do to the people?
That wasn't
but it wasn't a mass shooting. I think that was family related. It was.
I thought he went to school for some reason.
Right.
You chase your thoughts?
Oh, I was clearing my thoughts because, wow.
There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on. I ask myself that question all the time, because I am a spiritual person, I will go down a certain line regarding, my particular thoughts on certain things and familiar patterns within spirituality, and sometimes things that roam but anyway, that's another conversation for another day. On a factual basis, looking at how many times it happens, it could be an older person who wakes up and does it, a young person who wakes up and does it. America has to be gut honest with itself. And I sat and I watched the news. I watched every analyst that came in, and they all were saying the same thing, but it feels like there's an element of control in it, making people fear you for those couple of seconds, What deeply disturbs me about this is, what is it about children fearing you that made you feel whatever you needed to feel? I don't understand. It's when you feel like you've had the spit smacked out of your mouth, that's how I felt when I saw this, because I cannot make any sense of it. Because even if you have any form of mental illness, it just doesn't make sense why you would take everyone with you. In that same breath, let's talk about in South Africa how many men wake up one day and just decide. There's a case now about the father who gave his children energy drinks,
poison in the drinks,
and he poisoned the drinks so that he could take out all of them and then inflict harm upon himself. It's so common. So in America, it takes on the form of shooting, but throughout the world, there's different forms of, I'm going to take a group of people out, and then I'm going to take me out as well. There's a familiar pattern, but in America, it's common with guns. Here in South Africa, that thing of men taking out their families it's brutally common, and it's very scary. I don't know if you remember when we were in high school.
Oh yeah, the boy that lived in our street.
Bronco. Yeah. And what happened was, the dad, stabbed the son and then took out himself. So maybe as around the world. We have to ask ourselves, what is that thing where I'm going to take me out, I'm going to take you guys out first, and then I'm going to take me out. So that's the one question that I have. Another couple of questions is why America keeps dabbling on the issue. And the issue as well is that America and the money that it makes from guns, you know, I don't really know if the laws are ever going to change because there's so much opposition within the Congress alone, just based off of this thing. This feels like it's a cycle. It happens every year. Obama was on TV crying. When was it? A couple of years ago. Every president has gone to go and visit the places where these things happen, and the stuff just continues. It's deep. It's like, America has to be real with itself. Is it ever going to change if by now it hasn't?
Yeah.
Even like the
It's
police
years.
brutality, that was also guns. Like,
It was.
Yeah.
I just want to shed light on something. I was speaking to the church counselor, is a pastor here, and I was speaking to him earlier based on that aspect of why young people, why children. And one thing that he said, that he highlighted, that made so much sense, what's happening in America, what did happen up until like now, the last few shootings, was that they really like highlighted the person, the mass shooter. They really glorified. He's plastered on the, on the TV. This is the guy who's shooting. So there's that hero aspect. So that fame. So a lot of them. That's why it's so public. The other thing is also it's that to exert that fear, and young innocent children. That's where you're gonna get it. There was a shooting last night. That's the latest shooting. Yes, in a medical center. So it's continually going. So and the other thing is also when you were lifting out the whole family thing, I think with the family dynamic it's a little different. As parents, you feel like you want to protect, and if I'm taking myself out, I'm not leaving my children here.
yeah, because how will they fend for themselves?
That's the argument.
That's the thing I was also thinking.
That's an argument that's why they take out the whole family. They literally just take their unit out, But as far as because when we were speaking, and I was saying, what are the statistics?
Yeah.
Right. So if we have to look at the US is looking at over 200 shootings, and I mean as most recently as last night, right? So now we go to Europe. Now let's not negate that mass shootings or mass killings as a whole, they happen everywhere. But what is the frequency? So we were speaking and I was asking like off the top of your head, and he says, yeah, back in 2012, I'm saying that's 10 years ago. We're talking about over a 6-month period, over 200 shootings. So your pro-gun activists, what their argument basically is that it's not the gun. Like, if I'm going to take a pen and stab you, it's not the pen. Because remember, I use a pen to write. So if I don't pick up the pen to write, it's not going to write by itself. So that's the argument. Yeah. However, that philosophy for me personally is perfect in that setting. The reality of the matter is, if you're going to make it more stringent, here in South Africa, we do have gun laws, and it is accessible. However, it's a whole rigmarole before you get there. So even in the European countries, so you're going to have to go through. So now there's like a deterring factor. No law is going to abolish anything. I mean, it's not gonna make it go away, but it's going to lessen the risk. So what I was saying is that I'm not saying take it away, because yes, there are people, there is crime out there. There are people that can defend themselves with a gun. That's true. But let us have boundaries in which some
need it.
So I'm gonna jump on Jess here with the spiritual side. For me, I feel like I do actually stand with it's not the gun, it's the person, because guns has always been around, but it's only recent that it's being used in such a way. Yes, there was things before, but it wasn't to the extent it is now. But for me, I must say that I feel like it is something spiritual, based on the fact that, guys, let's be honest, before South Africa had DSTV, and before South Africa had Netflix, and before YouTube was a thing, because we had to wait, ding, 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 and network was terrible.
Is that your modem?
Yeah, my dial-in. Those kind of things. It came recently. Well, I don't mean like yesterday, but it's something that wasn't here all the time. And let's be honest, I'm going to speak now from my belief side. disclaimer, it's not the show, it's not anybody's opinion. This is my opinion personally. And I feel like before South Africa had all these things, right? We were not, for a lack of a better word, we were not vase. We weren't vase that there was a Buddha. We weren't vase that if you put a crystal here, it means this. We weren't vase of all those certain things. We knew what our parents taught us, and that was either biblical, it was either your Quran, it was either all those things, right? And I feel like America is introducing so many new spiritual aspects to find this God that they're trying to, one day you're praying to a tree, one day we are the universe, one day it's this, one day it's that. And I find that the more you see South Africa being exposed to this, because let's be honest, there was a time on YouTube when all influencers, they did the tour around the house, but the tour around the house was to show, like, this is my crystal in the kitchen, it represents this is this and that and that. And slowly, I have a lot of friends that was in church with me every single Sunday. And all of a sudden, because the YouTuber they were following at the time introduced them to a new lifestyle, it looked like there's fame in it. It looked like there's money in it. It looked cool. And they fell into it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm not saying that something bad happens to them. I'm just saying that we need to also be careful as people what you allow into your space. You need to be very careful in terms of what are you opening up yourself to? Do you actually know the meaning behind it? Do you know all those kind of things? Because I feel whenever they speak about the gunmen in America, you find out they are atheists, you find out that they were goth, you find out there was a weird background behind it, and the parents is like the super Christian parents or something. And I always find that weird, that what made you decide to go the full flip, and this is how you chose, because now we believe in sacrifices. Now we believe in order for my illness to go away, I must sacrifice a virgin. You know, all those different kind of beliefs. And I feel that's where, I don't know, it's just I'm coming really from a spiritual side in terms of that's where I'm at. I'm not saying it's yes, there's law with everything. But if we had to think about stuff like that, then anything and everything will go to the shits.
I have to agree with you. I have two parts to this answer. So the first one is, I do feel like a lot of people fall into trends. So with me personally, my family, and I have an aunt especially that's very spiritual. So she got us our first crystals when we were like 11. So like seeing how it's like growing over the years, people are blindly following things that they don't care to understand. And they don't know that there are risks that are involved when practicing certain things. They just out here, let me burn this, do this because I saw on TikTok or YouTube or So I agree with you in that sense. And also the other thing is that I've also read that in the States, they take a lot of pills. Like there's a pill for everything. And I feel like that must have some sort of effect somehow. Like so many Americans are on Prozac or whatever antidepressant when maybe they're not even supposed to be having it. It's just that they feel they need it.
There's an illness. There is an illness at the root of America as a nation. It's violent and it's nonsensical, but it's like the more
I think that's a power thing.
Yeah, it's like how do I explain it? It happens, people get shocked, the analysts come in, the government moves in, they debate it in Congress, and then after that it goes away. Then another one happens, and then it goes around the same cycle, and then another one happens, and it keeps going on the familiar patterns. It's like I'm saying, I wish I could say to them, just wake up as a nation, both from a spiritual perspective and, you know, even if there's so many different beliefs in America, if they can just get to a point where they say, you know what, we need to pray. We need to pray and surrender ourselves to be accountable to something higher than what than what we are as human beings, because as human beings, that society is tearing each other apart.
Yeah.
The gun violence, the mass shootings, it's like you don't know if you're going to walk into a restaurant and make it out alive. What irritates me with America is they've got so many plans for terrorism, so many plans for, we're going to
Other people's
invade this
countries.
nation, we're going to invade that
Yeah.
nation,
Yeah.
invading, and your own people are killing each other. There's a serious violent spirit there, and I believe in my personal capacity that they need to pray about it, but the policies, they must change. I just question, like, when are you guys going to wake up?
For me also, like I always say, movies plays a big role, right?
Yeah.
Movies that make hits and people make big deals out of it is always violent, crime-based movies. What's the one with Keanu Reeves where he's just constantly
John Wick.
shooting people 24/7? John Wick. How many murders happened? How many guys became John Wicks after that? Me
Yeah.
speaking from knowing stories of what happened at my husband's flats and stuff like that. It's something they aspire to want to be
Yeah,
because it
yes,
looks
that
cool.
hero,
It's-
yeah.
And for me, it's really disturbing because I can't watch South African movies because South African movies is always based on gangs. It's like movies that go big. It's always
Yeah.
gangs against the gang, and it's like, there's nothing inspirational in this
Yeah.
thing. And I feel the more we feed ourselves with all this negativity and wrongdoings, you become numb to when you hear
Yes.
stories like
But
this.
you see, that's my theory. I feel like in the States, they like put on a show to distract people from doing even shadier things that they're busy with
Yeah.
there,
Which
like
is very true.
underground.
I wholeheartedly believe that.
So it's
And it's also that they're putting these things out for a reason.
Yeah, and I sorry, Cleo, I just wanted to add there that we also need to pay attention to how violent South Africa's high schools are becoming.
guys,
You don't
did
know
you hear
how
the
many
stats that came
times
out this morning.
kids go in there and literally get stabbed. They're punching each other, beating each other up, they're killing each other, they're killing the teachers.
And hitting the teacher.
So as much as we take this moment to like look at America, like we've really got to look at what's happening all over
South
the world, and
Africa.
especially here at
So
home
this
with us.
morning
Yeah.
stats came out based on murder cases in South Africa. And since the stats from 2021, the stats this far in South Africa, it rised by 23%.
Wow.
That's scary.
That's murder and rape cases. And then they did the whole analogy of the percentages of the different cities, and Johannesburg, I think, was 22% of all those murder cases.
Sure.
That's a high number. Looking at our own. Can I just bring this comment in of Yuan Horn? One of the major issues in America is their politicians don't deal with gun issues as Americans. They deal with it on a Democrat versus Republican basis. They can't agree on what's best
I've
for
always
America.
found that very interesting.
Yeah.
Like Democrats versus Republic.
Yeah, and they're very strong
Republicans.
on that. Me just trying to figure out who are the politicians out here.
Yeah.
Never mind the parties.
After Donald, I haven't heard much.
So yeah.
I still can't believe that happened. How did that man become president?
Anybody, eh?
Yeah.
That shows
The
America.
Simpsons
And the-
predicted it.
And the longer America just slips into its divisiveness, nothing is going to happen.
But that's the thing.
Nothing will
We're
happen.
trying so hard to get economy right in terms of business, who can get richer, all those kind of things, that we forget about the normal moral state of our countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. It's just business.
Yeah.
What for me is the aspect that the American Constitution was built on biblical principles, and they've literally ripped that out. And you can't take away the spiritual aspect. You can't take away God and Jesus out of anything, because you can't take away Jesus out of anything, because that is what binds the moral compass. Because now it's free for all. We liberals, we can do this, and everyone is yes, everyone is special, but there are rules. There is everything in moderation. I mean, the Bible does says that everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial.
So, on that note, our last topic, quick, because we are running a bit late. But for our last topic, we wanted to speak about what's happening. So after 20 years, Ellen DeGeneres has decided to close shop, and she had a final episode. Was it last week, nah?
I
I
think
think
so,
last
yeah.
week, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
it
was very
was
emotional.
last episode after 20 years. And then with that even being said, we also know that a few years ago, Oprah also closed shop on her talk show. And then The Real is in its final season. And then, okay, Wendy Williams isn't in her final season, but because of rehab and everything, there's a replacement host, and she's fighting to get
She's
her
mean.
chair back.
She's
And
really
Yeah,
mean.
I'm not a fan of Wendy either. Or the,
So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, right? With this happening with Ellen, The Real, Oprah being so big, all these things, do you think that, because we could also just say daytime, because your SNLs and all of those, they seem to be working. Do you think daytime talk shows has come to an end for us?
I think there's, Thokozani and I were discussing this morning. It seems like the big talk show is going in a very interesting direction. Your late night with whoever, the ones that are very satirical, the Daily Show, those ones. Those satirical ones where there's lots of performance and lots of those ones seem to be standing very long. The ones that seem to be coming to an end is that niche market. And it made me ask the question of, how does everyone consume their talk, motivational, inspirational, or connectivity content? Where are we consuming it? Are we now on
All
podcasts?
online.
Are we now online? Are we now, I'd rather listen to somebody who looks like me, sounds like me. I connect with them as an influencer. I feel like they're more my friend. And I can, when, I don't know, Sarah Jakes Roberts is talking to somebody, I can listen to that because it's niche. It's like me. But then the big audience shows, I mean, it feels like there's a bit of a disconnect now. And audiences are starting to choose more of what's niche to them. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like the big talk show with the audience and there's something happening there. And maybe I don't say that that's why The Real is ending and that's why Ellen ended, but it's just interesting to see all of these long-standing talk shows coming to an end.
I think that's the interesting part, is the why. Why did these talk shows? So doing the research, I came, how true it is, I'm not really sure, but most of the sources are saying the reason why Ellen is cancelled is because there were reports of
abusing the people.
abusing and there were bad reports. So the people were saying no. It basically the cancel culture came in there and cancelled that, right? Instead of trying to fix the problem, let's just cancel the whole thing altogether. Then with The Real, it was more a matter of apparently
There is a
funds.
new host every day.
Yeah. So there must be something else in there that's happening, either in management or producing or whatever. There needs to be there's something deeper there. And I think Oprah retired because I think she was tired at that stage and she had given it over to the Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is still working. So I don't think.
But she still does Soulful Sundays, doesn't she?
So she started something new where she actually has a full-on conversation with someone. So I don't think so. And stats prove that the ratings, basically American ratings, the ratings for talk shows are actually on the increase than on the decrease. I personally don't feel, but what I do think does play an element is podcasts. People are spending time because it's convenient. They can watch it wherever and they can play it whenever.
Yeah.
So that element of convenience, because a lot of people are spending time on the internet, on YouTube or whatever. People aren't really going to say, like in America,
Go to channel 103.
yeah, we have never owned DSTV in my life. We haven't. So for me, this is a concept that I'm like, why is it a must? I mean, me and Xavier were driving when we were coming back from Porch, and then with the shacks and everything, and everyone has a dish. And I check because you get the the funky one, and then you get the DS. And I checked. There's so many that are actually DSTV. How much is DSTV? DSTV is like
It's like
what,
1,000
Depends
rand
which
for the
package.
full
But it depends.
bouquet.
There's a package that's only 200 or something.
Yeah, so but even that 200, I'm just trying to feed my kids and take my kids to school, like, and I'm a
Now you're
working
paying
person.
to watch the same movies over and over.
We've never had it.
Yeah.
So I think that element, and people are going into cheaper aspects, like they'll do Netflix here or something, and then obviously the internet bill or whatever. So if you've got it, why must I pay extra to see something else?
Yeah.
So I think that does play an element.
Or let me rather ask you guys this question. Do you still watch those kind of talk shows? Like The View, The Real, the ones where it's a big broadcasted episode, there's a big audience inside, there's a list of guests, they determine who the guests are going to be, those big broadcast type of talk shows. Do you still watch them? Do you still think they're amazing? Or have you noticed that you're starting to watch talk content, but just in a different way?
I think for me personally, I think it's more a thing of like, okay, Ellen is on at 11. And if I miss it, I miss
It's
it.
gone.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, then I'm watching it.
Yes. So they'll have like clips on YouTube, but it's not the full show. So I think people
Yeah.
want that convenience.
Yeah,
of
so
like,
I was about to say that would be my biggest thing. It's that I don't watch TV. I watch streaming, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I don't have an episode, if it doesn't play on Netflix or it's not on some sort of catch-up or something like that, I don't watch it. I want something where I can rewind, press pause because I'm going to the bathroom
Yeah.
quickly, press pause because I need to finish cooking. I can't hear while the thing is making cheep,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I can press play again after that. I look for that, and I think that's where the audience, I don't think it's necessarily big talk show. I think it's convenience. If Ellen had to go on off TV and had a YouTube page where it's not snippets,
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
that
even on
30
Netflix
seconds or
whatever.
something, and it's actually the full show, but
Yeah.
it's on Netflix, it's on Hula, it's on something.
Yeah.
I think then it would be different.
It would be different. However, we must also bear in mind, Ellen didn't cancel because there was no interest.
Yeah.
So people were still watching it.
Yeah.
She cancelled for other reasons. So back to the question of relevance, I still do think they are relevant. However, I do think people are going more. Like, let's take the Dr. Phil show. I'd love to watch the Dr. Phil show. But where am I going to watch Dr. Phil? I don't have DSTV, or I don't have some whatever. I have to, and I think a lot of people do this. They end up finding a site that they can download it on. Do you get what I'm saying? So there's that pirate aspect behind it as well. So it's
Yeah.
like, and that creates convenience. So yes, the convenience thing I think is a big thing. And then the other thing is, I think people like to be tickled in like excited in one side, where Ellen gives this stuff, and there's a comedy show here, there's a you know, she touches to all the senses really,
Yeah.
what she did in that show. But I think a lot of people do want depth. So if
People are changing now, man.
and I think with COVID, what happens is that people were trapped in their own mind, in their own thought. So now they would go to a podcast to sort of
Yeah.
like feed that. People would
Yes.
now spend more time on YouTube to hear different content as
Yeah.
opposed to it being a song here, then it's a joke here, then it's jumping on the
Then
couch
dance
there.
party.
I
Yeah.
don't actually agree with that, because the ones that is on TV that's still making it is just that. It's not talk. I would say where I see the difference is that all these shows that's being cancelled is hosted by women. And your
That is
evening,
true.
the other shows that's all by men is still quite successful. So I thought of it in that aspect. What is it
Interesting.
that we don't want to hear women speaking about, in terms of we'll rather watch that man making a joke about who is this and who is that, because your shows that is like the talk shows, like with the Trevor, the guy that sings in the car, and that's
You know,
all
I
still
love-
comedy and singing and stuff. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But they male. Do you think that makes a difference?
I wonder.
Well, if you bring it up and mention it like that, like initially you don't think about it. Oh, it's all because when you go into social media and you do your research, then it's like the reason why they don't have money to do this. There was mismanagement in management or whatever, and then so you hear the broader scope, but you don't hear. Okay, but it's because it's a woman, and then is Ellen? Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, I must be honest. So I love David Letterman, guys. Like his show, he goes into the people's houses and like in their comfort zone, and it's just like he gets to know the person. like the real deal behind.
Actually, but he was
And
cancelled.
it's a double aspect, because are you talking about the one on
On
Netflix?
Netflix.
Yeah. That's his own show that he created after he was cancelled.
So I didn't know he was cancelled.
What I find interesting there is that he's got the one aspect which is in front of the audience, and then he's got the other aspect which is like
In their space.
in their space. I think I'm interested to see where the future of talk, content, audiences, consumption is going. You know, but it's definitely one to watch, and I think that there's a lot to be said about individuality now and things that speak to the individual.
Yeah.
In this era that we're in, you know, I have to admit, I am a little sad that a lot of that particular kind, because I grew up with it,
Yeah.
you know. When I saw Ellen walking away, she looked so sad. And
It's not something
Oprah
she wanted
said
to
to
let
her,
go.
yeah, and Oprah said to her in the interview that Oprah was there to, you know, just remind everybody about how great Ellen is and all of that. And she said to Oprah said to her, this, you're not going to get this again. This moment where you're like the darling of society in this broad sense. It's not going to be the same anymore. So soak it all in. And I heard that and I was like, what is happening? Like, but maybe it's just about changing and just, I guess, adapting how we absorb content. I don't know. We'll see what stays, what goes, what stays.
And for me, I would say that everybody has their own personalities as well. So I don't think Ellen cancelled. I know it has been talked because Nikki Dragon was one of the first. Not Nikita Dragon. What's the other Nikita?
I only know
The
that.
what's her name, man? The Nikki Tutorials.
Oh.
Nikki Tutorials.
Yeah.
She was one of the jumped into when the first person said Ellen is actually not nice backstage. Then she jumped in it as well and made a whole actual episode doing makeup, bad mouthing Ellen. And I think that also became a trend. The same way I spoke the other day saying that you crying in your car and showing it on your reel became a trend. I think there was a trend, and you will find that most of the people that had something bad to say about Ellen were your influencers she invited onto the show. It wasn't like your famous celebrities and all those kind of things.
Because they know their
I
place.
think it was more, you know how people clickbait. And I was on Ellen and I had a problem with this, that. We must also keep in mind, guys, backstage, we don't all have the same personality, number one. So if I don't greet you backstage and now I'm 2, 3, 1, hi guys, thank you for, do you know what I'm trying to say? You can't judge me on that. It could be a bad day, it could be my personality, it could be those kind of
I can't
things.
be hype all the time.
And not only that, so you taking away all that when she builds houses for people, when she helped them pay school fees, you know, those kind of things. You take all that blessings away from somebody else just because Ellen didn't greet you properly when you walked onto the show. So there's also that side where people need to also think further than just how did I feel after that person greeted me? Because the kind of work you're also doing, it's so much greater. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So with certain things, I would also say going forward, if it's like something really bad and it was a crime and those kind of things, let's cancel. But I mean, if you're paying 30 people's school fees, but building 50 people's houses every year, you know what I'm trying to say? Building a new
so
school,
sad.
all those kind of things. I think me not getting a hello is something bad to have a whole show just disappear with.
All I'm
she
saying
just
is,
looked very sad in those last episodes. She didn't look like
She's
there's
not
the Ellen
ready.
that started, the Ellen in the middle, then there was the Ellen that said goodbye. She just looked very.
Yeah, I was sad,
but guys, just for like a young closing statement, is that no matter how thin you slice it, there's always two sides. So don't just go with what popular culture says, you know, there's always another side to the story.
Yeah. Closing remarks for today, or you want to just say goodbye,
I
whatever's on your
just
mind.
concur with that.
Jace, anything on your mind you just want to send everybody home with?
To have a friend, you have to be a friend.
Fingers
I saw that in a show this week, so I'm going to say it everywhere I go.
everywhere you go. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Gabfest. Please do like, please do subscribe. I always forget to tell you guys that. And thank you so much. for the support. Yeah. Hope to see you next week. Bye.
Bye.